Hey class, Dr. DeVita. This is my Module 4 response video on ableism, ageism, and adultism. I'm going to take an unusual approach with this. I definitely commented on each individual and what they've said in their presentations, but I also want to do a brief sort of reflection on the module as a whole, considering that we've had a extraordinary amount of time to reflect on it, considering spring break. Tyler, she focuses on power, rules imposed on young by adults. Michelle also agrees with this. She states that rules are imposed and reinforced by adults. In my video, one area that I touched on very lightly, but it intrigued me, was the idea of power and how power actually becomes all-encompassing, which is where, say, parents and teachers, they get this wrong. And they'll make a rule, something for teenager safety, something that is essential for them. Don't fight, don't do drugs, you're grounded if you get a C, don't have, premarital, unprotected sex, so on and so on, things that are, inarguably in their best interest that they possibly don't understand just yet. However, this mentality is that they'll take that thought and behavior control and expand it across the entire range of aspects of their life, which essentially becomes, believe this, don't believe that. Go to college, get married, have kids, live this kind of life. This is how you should be. And how it all stems from, that idea of assisting, juveniles and youths in matters that they can't think clearly themselves about at their age. If you take that to the macro level, you can see that, in the same way the government passes laws about your safety, such as labor laws or seatbelt laws or whatever, and it generally bundles that into an authority package to where they also pass laws about who you can marry, what you can and cannot consume, and in a very real way, what you can and cannot think. This model begins with adultism. It begins with that authority of adults that are installed in children, and I think that that's something in terms of social justice that shouldn't be overlooked. That was a little ranty and conspiracy theory-ish. However, I have to amuse myself with these videos as much as possible. So, before moving on to the next question, given this idea of power, Tyler discusses the criminalization of youth. I think that rewards punishment system definitely reinforces that power dynamic. Jasmine discusses the lack of balance in the power dynamics between the youth and the adults, which we can see is on purpose. And more optimistically, Michelle discusses some practical initiatives such as one-on-one relationships, mentoring youths, teaching young people to lead early, and on-campus employment, which I agree with this wholeheartedly on a practical level, but if I'm sort of interpreting it through the social justice lens, this is kind of more oppression. We're essentially saying, become an adult more quickly. Don't be the thing you are. We wouldn't request this of any other target group, so it's kind of ironic that we request this of young people. Question 2 is about ableism. Something from the book that stuck with me over the last 2 weeks that I've been actually correcting myself when I say it is the idea that the term handicapped comes from disabled peoples in the 18th century or whatever, literally holding their caps in their hands, waiting for handouts. Well, now we have disability benefits and various charitable organizations, but it's strange how that term has stuck. And I've actually caught myself whenever I talk about handicapped parking spaces, correcting that and saying, parking spaces for disabled individuals. And I really had no idea how much I said it, therefore how much I thought it. And but the main idea that I took away from this model is the idea of the public versus the private sphere, and how disabled people are forced from the public into the private sphere. Most people really don't want to see disabled people. They want them out of sight and out of mind. This is as true as it is infinitely sad. Tyler remarked on this. She said, I never really thought how much of a privilege it is to go out into society without people staring and noticing you. You know, other ideas of increasing visibility were discussed. Michelle said different individuals require different services. She implies both physically, as in like the facilities, and options for assignments and career designs. How each person should be seen as an individual and not just like a universal handicap person. And I think that this is the largest point in assisting handicapped people. The book, or social justice, has made me realize that people should be respected because they are people and not because of their specific body or meat containers that they just happen to be born into. Anyone could have had the fortune or misfortune as being born as anyone else. And I think that the term temporarily abled body does help to contextualize that. This isn't rhetorical, kind of makes me sound a little bad, but because of their lack of visibility or their vanquishment to the private sphere, I don't think that society is yet to think that way. And I don't really think that ableism or correcting ableism is high on anyone's priority list. But anyway, I hope that everyone's having a good semester so far, and I look forward to seeing you in class.